started with hardcore editing in Premiere Pro, there are two very important topics that need to be discussed: organizing your content and creating sequences. Both of these will be critical to you as you start to work on creating your video in Premiere Pro. Sequences are the backbone of your project, and organizing your data makes it easier to find the content you need to create sequences. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the Metadata Panel, the types of metadata, how to add metadata to a clip or image, analyzing your content, how to create sequences, and how to create presets for sequences. We talked about metadata briefly when we talked about the project panel. However, metadata can be so important to your project that we're going to spend some time talking about it more in depth. By definition, metadata is data that gives information about other data. For example, if you have a JPEG image, the metadata would provide information about the image. This information may include the type of camera, the size, etc. The Metadata panel in Premiere Pro is located with the Source Monitor. Click on the Metadata tab to the right of the Source Monitor tab to view it. Whether or not you ever use the Metadata panel will depend on the type of projects that you have. The Metadata panel is used mostly for movies or projects where a lot of clips are used. There are two types of metadata that is managed by the Metadata panel. These two types are file-based and clip-based. File-based metadata is stored in the file itself. Any metadata that's in these fields can also be viewed by other programs when the file is opened in those programs. Clip-based metadata is only stored in Premiere Pro. It can't be seen in other programs. To enter metadata into Premiere Pro, first select a clip or image in the Project panel. You can see that the Metadata panel has three sections: Clip, File, and Speech Analysis. Click the triangle that's next to each section name to see other metadata fields available. We clicked on File Properties. This tells us information about the file. Remember, this is file-based metadata, so it's metadata that will also be available in other programs. To enter metadata, use the back and forward arrows at the top left of the Metadata panel to scroll through the fields. You will see a gray text field where you can enter information. Click Enter after you've entered the data. In addition to the type of metadata that you enter into the Metadata panel, there is also metadata that Premiere Pro can find by analyzing source clips. Premiere Pro has the ability to find faces in your clips as well as convert audible speech to text. However, this feature has been discontinued for Premiere Pro CC, so I'll show you how to do this with Premiere Pro CS6. Let's learn to find faces in source clips. To do this, go to the Project panel and select a clip to analyze by clicking on it. Next, go to Clips, Analyze Content. You'll then see the Analyze Content dialog box. Make sure face detection is checked. Click OK. When you click OK, the Adobe Media Encoder starts to work in the background. You won't notice anything at all. In fact, you're going to think it didn't work because nothing happens right away. However, you can do some other editing while you wait. When Media Encoder is finished, it will play a sound to let you know it's done. Click the magnifying glass in the Find box, then choose Find Faces from the menu. You'll see all the clips with faces displayed. Click Close to restore your clip. To use speech analysis, make sure the speech box is checked. The text will appear in the Metadata panel under the Speech Analysis section. The world revolves around sequences. At least it does in Premiere Pro. It's where you do your editing, and it's where you put together your video. That said, we're going to talk about sequences in this section so that when we start doing some hardcore editing later, you're ready to dig in. Here's a few facts you need to know about sequences. You can have several sequences in a project. You can insert a sequence into a sequence. This is called a nested sequence. You can copy and paste a sequence, and you can delete, rename, and search for a sequence just as you can content. What you cannot do is change a sequence's preset once it's created. For that reason, you want to set it up right the first time. Otherwise, you have to copy and paste edited clips into a correct sequence. Although it's not hard to do, it takes up time that you could spend doing other editing tasks. That said, you want to remember these three rules when you apply a preset to your sequence. Number 1. The sequence preset should match the bulk of your source footage. This is the most commonly followed rule. Number 2. Your preset should match your target output. And number 3. Your sequence should match your project size. For example, for 640 by 360 videos, create a 640 by 360 preset. Now that we've covered the 3 rules, let's teach you how to create the presets for those rules. To create a preset that matches your source footage, drag the footage to the New Item button. Premiere Pro will create a sequence in the timeline that has the same name as the footage. If you want to create a sequence that matches a specific format, you're going to need the following information to do so: resolution, format type, frame rate, aspect ratio, broadcast standard, and progressive or interlaced format. You can check the settings on your camera for some of the information. You can also go to the project panel and open the preview area for the clip. To select a sequence preset, start out by creating the sequence. To do this, click the New Item button in the project panel and select Sequence. You can also go to File, New, Sequence. You'll then see the New Sequence dialog box. Click the triangle next to the different preset categories in the Available Preset section. You can click on any preset and see the details displayed in the preset description field. Once you've chosen the preset, enter a name for the sequence in the Sequence Name field. Then click OK. If the clip does not match the sequence's settings, you'll see a warning box appear. You can either change the sequence settings, or you can keep them if the discrepancies between the clip and the sequence was intentional. To create a custom preset for a sequence, create a new sequence as we did in the last section. When you see the New Sequence dialog box, click the Settings tab. Go to Editing Mode and select Custom. Next, go to the Time-Based drop-down menu to select the frame rate. In the frame size fields, enter the horizontal and vertical values. The pixel aspect ratio should be square for non-broadcast projects. Choose the pixel aspect ratio from the drop-down menu. Choose your preferred settings from the Fields drop-down menu. In the Display Format section, choose the desired format from the drop-down menu. 30 frames per second timecode is the recommended default format. Next, select your desired sample rate from the Audio Sample Rate drop-down. You can leave all the other settings alone and click the Tracks tab at the top of the dialog box. This tab will show you audio settings. Select the number of video tracks that you want to insert into the new sequence. Then go to the Master and Track Type drop-down menu to see the settings that are available. Click the Save Preset button when you're finished. You'll then see the Save Settings dialog box. Enter a name and description for the preset and then click OK. Enter a name for the sequence at the bottom of the New Sequence dialog box and then click OK again. To check the settings for your sequence, right-click on the sequence in the project panel. Select Sequence Settings. You'll then see the Sequence Settings dialog box. Some of the fields in the audio and video sections will not be active for you, so you can't change them. However, you can change how the format is displayed in the sequence.